Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Sometimes that's a hard song for me to get through. Oh, man. Yeah. Gorgeous. Thank you.
You know, maybe you could just keep singing that instead of me talking.
Flowing from the
Okay, musicians are as bad as ministers, right?
Yeah. I have a mic.
Yeah, right. Yes. Before we start, I want to let everybody know that Mary is in Kansas visiting her brothers. Everything is fine, but people always wonder when she's not here, and so she'll be coming home tomorrow instead of today because of the weather. Let's see. Our October theme is prosperity, abundance, and health. So basically this morning I'm going to talk about how we live in an abundant world of infinite supply. An abundant world of infinite supply. So say with me what's on the screen. I live in an abundant universe of infinite supply. Once more. I live in an abundant universe of infinite supply. So that's what's showing up in our lives, right? I mean, we all have an absolute abundance of friends and love and opportunity, and we all have an absolute abundance of good health and happiness and joy. Oh, and of course we all have an abundance of money and prosperity and plenty in every area of our lives.
Yes.
And some would say, I wouldn't exactly say I have an abundance of all of that. In fact, sometimes it seems like I don't have enough. So if I live in this abundant universe of infinite supply, where is it and why isn't it showing up in my life? Pretty good question, huh? Now, Ernest Holmes, the founder of our teaching, and the guy whose picture is in the back of the room there, he stressed that ours is a practical teaching. Ours is a teaching that gives us tools so that we can create lives of prosperity and joy, lives of abundance and magnificence. Now, one of our spiritual principles, because of course in order to lead these lives, we get to follow the spiritual principles that we teach. One of the spiritual principles that we teach is that we live in an abundant universe. We live in an abundant universe. Think of the number of snowflakes. Think of how the leaves on the trees produce far more leaves than they could ever really need. The seeds of a dandelion are just so abundant. Everything. We live in a universe of abundance. And this morning's topic is substance and supply. Now, they're not words that go together every day, that we hear, that we speak, but this is the way that Ernest Holmes spoke about things. Of course, he wrote way back then. Now, here are some of the definitions that he has given, and these come from the Science of Mind textbook, from the glossary. Substance. Substance is the formless back of all forms. The primordial substance is the ultimate formless stuff from which all things come. I love the fact that Ernest Holmes used the word stuff because, it just does it. Yes. Yeah. It's the ultimate formless stuff from which all things come. And supply. Supply is the general term used to cover every conceivable need. The verb supply means to merely provide for, contribute to, accommodate with. Supply, the noun, as we use it so often through this textbook, is synonymous with substance. And we have already learned that God is the substance of all things. And this substance is itself the supply of every demand that can be made. In political economy, we learned that supply is the amount of a commodity available for a demand. In the science of mind, we learned that the supply of every good awaits our demand. Somewhere there is already provided a lavish abundance for every want, a supply equal to any claim that can be made upon it. But the demand must be made. Each has the power to demand their share of the gift God has provided of health, wealth, and power. Each is supplied as they believe. We are supplied as we believe. So we teach that there's nothing but God, infinite intelligence, that one source, that one creative essence of everything. And we know that all that is seen, all that we can see around us, and all that is happening that we can't see on the unseen realm is also an expression of the divine. It's like it's all there is, just God. Now, it shows up as buildings and cats and pianos and all sorts of things, but it's all God. It's all made from the same substance, made from an idea in the mind of God. Now, we know that these forms that we live in, these magic suits, these are not permanent. I mean, we have taken them on in this incarnation, but eventually they'll be turned to ashes or they will compost in the ground. And something new will be made of all of the stuff that we are made of. It is eternal. There is no way that God can ever leave who you are and who you are becoming. There's no spot where God is not. Everything is made of this primordial substance. And you know, it's not only the physical things that we see. Spirit creation makes up all that's around us. It makes up the experiences of our lives, the love that we share, the excitement that we feel when something new is happening, the wonder we feel when we hear beautiful music such as we have heard this morning and will hear more of this morning. All of that is spirit in expression. And we have come to co-create with the divine. Now, of course, God creates on this huge, huge scale that is beyond our imaginations. We create on the level of our personal lives, drawing in what is ours, drawing in with our thoughts and our beliefs and our actions. We are the creators of our lives. Now, I think of the divine substance, you know, the stuff everything is made of. I think of it as being kind of like Play-Doh. You know, there's this Play-Doh. It's blue, Karen, in case you're wondering. I've got this blue Play-Doh in my hand. And this is like the substance of the divine. It can be made into any shape. Now, I like hearts, so I'm going to make it into a heart. This might be a little rough, but okay. All right. Okay, so you all got really good imaginations, right? All right, there we go. That's better, yeah. So I can form this Play-Doh into a heart. And I also can call forth in creation love and affection and connection and all of that good stuff into my own life. I can use that spiritual substance to draw in this good stuff. Now, have any of you ever heard or said, I guess I'll just eat worms. Guess I'll just eat worms. Well, you know what? We can make worms out of this substance. We can make lots of worms out of this substance. And we can make worms in our life. Things that are just hard to digest and that are not very fun. We can make anything out of the substance of the divine. Absolutely anything. Opportunity. So I get to choose what I'm going to create. I get to choose how I'm going to allow Spirit to be put together for my life. And I'm going to choose what I'm going to see in the outside world. I'll choose my perception. Choose what I want to see in the world. Because what's important is that we're surrounded by this pure potentiality, and yet, unless we recognize it, unless we call on it, it's kind of like it's not there. Now, Eugene Holden is an amazing musician, an amazing speaker, and do you all know that every month for like the last 900 years, isn't that about right? About right. He has written the personal affirmations in the Science of Mind magazine. Now, it's always one of the first things I look at and one of the things that I read over and over and over throughout the month.
Me too.
Yeah. So thank you, Eugene. And one of the things he said in this month's Science of Mind magazine, which you can pick up in the lobby, is that we are surrounded by abundance. An abundance of air, sunlight, stars, and creative ideas. We live in a bountiful universe no matter what the physical senses may tell us. The way to bring God's bounty into our everyday experience is with our recognition of these gifts. What we recognize, we create. What we recognize, we create. Oh, you were going to get to look at that. Oh well, there it goes. What we recognize, what we focus on, what we claim and open to is what we experience. It's what shows up in our life. Whatever thoughts you plant in your mind eventually manifest in your world. It's like planting an apple tree. Of course, you pick a piece of ground that's fertile, and then you pick what kind of apple seed you're going to grow. So you plant it and you water it, and you nurture it and give it all the nutrient. Well, the soil gives it the nutrients it needs, and eventually you end up with an amazing apple tree. And boy, this year the apples have been great, haven't they? I mean, a good year for apples. Well, that's the same way we do. I mean, our mind is the rich soil. Our thoughts are the seeds. And our beliefs and our thoughts and our beliefs and our actions are the sunlight and the water and the nurturing. And whatever we plant grows. When people don't get what they want, it's often because they're trained to think more about what they don't want than what they do want. Just as weeds come up, I mean, we don't plant weeds, but they come up. And in that same way, thoughts, negative thoughts, things about what we don't want, thoughts about what we don't want come up in our mind. Now, don't beat yourself up about that because, let's face it, we're human. But the trick is not to dwell on those negative thoughts, not to dwell on them, but to choose something more positive, to choose something more in line with what you want. Now, and that's why it's so important for us to watch our thoughts, because I don't know about y'all, but those thoughts can just slip right in And unless I consciously choose different thoughts, boy, my mind can really go. And probably none of you, but that's right. So we get to choose our thoughts. Florence Scovel Shinn said, the game of life is the game of boomerangs. Our thoughts, deeds, and words return to us sooner or later with astounding accuracy. Astounding accuracy. I've noticed that a few times in my life. What we focus on has to manifest because it's a universal law of sowing and reaping. What we sow, we will reap. So why don't we all have what we want all the time? Well, as I said before, some people, instead of focusing on what they want, focus on what they don't want. And of course, what you focus on expands. And so if we're focusing on something that we don't want, hey, we're going to get more of it, whether we want it, whether we really want it or not. Energy goes where attention flows. What you focus on expands. You can't put out negative energy and expect positive results. You can't plant zucchinis and expect to harvest sweet corn. You can't dwell on failure and expect success to open up to you with ease and grace. We are at choice. If we're constantly thinking about the things that we don't want to happen, or the things that we are afraid might happen, those are the seeds we're planting. And we are at choice. We can choose to plant different seeds. Based on the universal law of sowing and reaping, whatever we plant, folks, we will get. So there's some beautiful, beautiful things that we can plant. Now, we don't understand how or why, or at least I don't understand how or why. If you do, talk to me later. But our mind seems to be connected to the ultimate reality of life, the part of life that creates for us. I mean, what we think really comes back to us. Now, and it has a big effect on how we act. What we think about affects how we act. I mean, if I think that, this guidance that I got, it's probably really not any good, and I don't really, then I'm probably not going to make the phone calls I need to make. I'm probably not going to send the emails that I need to make. Whereas if I trust that Spirit is supporting me all along the way, if I trust that Spirit has gone before me to make my path easy and clear and safe and prosperous, I'll follow my guidance. I'll have the courage to step out and risk some things, because that's what our guidance sometimes, / maybe often, invites us to do. As I remember that the universe is fully supporting my joy and my success and my happiness, I have more courage to step out. And this works. Now, after I applied to be your senior minister 3 years ago, and before I received any kind of answer about that, I got a call from Mile High Church and was offered a ministerial position there at about 3 times what this community could pay at the time. So I didn't have this position yet, and yet Spirit told me, if you take this job, you will not get a ministry that makes your heart sing. If you want a ministry that makes your heart sing, you can trust that it will come, whether it's CSL Boulder Valley or something else. But don't do it. And so I didn't. Now, did my accountant wife raise her eyebrows? Absolutely, she did. And does she still tease me about that sometimes, saying, do you know how much money you could be making? And she totally supports me in being where I am because she knows that we are both exactly where we are meant to be with all of you. So I'm going to take this time to thank you all. Thank you all for giving me the opportunity to have this ministry that makes my heart sing. It is such an honor. There's a power in the universe greater than you are, greater than I am, greater than any of us, and we can use it. It's something we can use in everyday life. When the greatest teacher that ever lived said, "It is done unto you as you believe," what do you think he was talking about? He was talking about a power that is close to us, nearer than our hands and feet. How would we use this power that is near to us? Certainly, we would have to use it in an intimate way. And we have to believe that the power exists. And we have to believe that it is done unto us as we believe. What is belief anyway? Is it so hard to believe? We believe that tomorrow will come. We believe that the sun will rise in the morning and set at night. We believe that the grass will grow. And we believe that our food will digest. When we believe with faith, we can use the power. Spirit supports us always in all of the ways that we will allow it, in all of the ways that we will accept the invitation. This infinite presence wants to shower us with goodness. We can open to it and accept all of the goodness that life has to give us so that we can live joyful and magnificent lives. There's a substance in the universe from which everything is made. It's all the same stuff. And we can rearrange it however we want. So say what's on the screen with me. I believe in and open to an abundant universe of infinite supply. Once more. I believe in and open to an abundant universe of infinite supply. Let's take that into prayer as practitioners stand with me in high consciousness. Right here, we are made of the stuff of God. We are made of the joy, we are made of the love, we are made of the challenge, we are made of the infinite growth that is happening in us, through us, around us. For there is only the divine. Only that one thing that we can call God or Spirit or whatever, that is the source of all that is, all that ever was, all that ever will be. And so I claim that as each of us goes through this week, we are reminded of that. Spirit gives us clear and delightful reminders that we can shape this substance. We can accept this supply into our lives. We can claim it. We can demand it. We can open to it. We can give thanks for it in advance. For our lives are here as expressions of the divine. It has come to live in, through, and as each one of us as unique individuals, bringing gifts, bringing perspectives, bringing ways of laughter, bringing all that we bring as individuals. Something would be missing if any one of us were not here. And so in great gratitude for the inspiration that follows each of us, for the connection that is all around us and in us and through us and between us, I give great thanks. I let it go. I rejoice in it. I celebrate. And I invite you to say with me, and so it is.